Hey Kayla, I kind of wanted to come to you and talk to you about something. I wanted to get your advice. I was kind of considering trying to start my own business.
Oh, I'd love to help you think through that. Where are you? Tell me a little bit about it.
Well, I'm in a job currently that I enjoy, but I want some more flexibility, kind of be my own boss a little bit, get married. And I know that when we decide to have a family, I'm going to kind of want, a little bit more stay at home time, but also, just the fun of a job of some sorts. And so I thought now was the good time to maybe start thinking about that, lay the groundwork, but I really wanted to come to you and kind of ask what you thought about that.
What would be, at this point, the most beneficial thing for you to walk away with from this conversation?
The best thing would be just kind of some next steps, maybe, some encouragement a little bit, just a reality, just, kind of what can we really accomplish? What is it feasible, kind of, that kind of thing too.
Yeah, well, let's dive in a little bit more just in the situation, like where are we, time frame?
Okay.
How quickly would you want to do this?
Probably try to get really started after the first of the year, but maybe kind of get some ducks in a row in the meantime, get some ideas, a few more conversations with some individuals.
Tell me more about the business.
The business, I'd like to really get into some sort of consulting role. I've done fundraising for quite a few years now, and I think I could be an asset to some organizations, maybe some startups, a nonprofit, a church, just somebody who's looking to say, we need some help raising some money. It's a tough time for everybody, but then not having to necessarily execute all the day-to-day details, kind of cast the vision, give the strategy, be a resource. But of course, I've never consulted on my own. So, that kind of poses some difficulties there too.
Right. What other challenges? Do you have a support system in place?
I think I do. I think I have set up some individuals that can help mentor and help direct. It's just kind of, where do you begin? How do you get a process like that started?
Do you feel like that's your biggest challenge, the where to begin part?
Yeah, and then, how do you get clients? Where do you find those folks that need the assistance?
Well, let's start there. Let's think through some options of really your next step on, how do I get this started? And if you were to just think about it today and picture let's think about the future. Kind of where you want to be. So let's start there and think about it 5 years from now, what you want your business to be doing, who do you need around you, and then we can kind of backtrack and see what steps do we need to take today to get there.
Okay, absolutely. I think in 5 years, I'd like to maybe have myself and a couple of account managers, if you will, maybe be up to a group of 3 to 5 individuals, nothing too large because then you get too busy. I don't want to be too busy either. But maybe some individuals that are kind of helping, corral and direct and be that support system for, a dozen different organizations, kind of on a, weekly and monthly basis or even per project, some project coordinator types.
That's good. That's a great vision. So right now, are you clear about like a business plan?
I could probably use some assistance in that sense and maybe, finding the right people to ask for a great business model for something small like this.
Who do you think you could ask?
Well, I thought about obviously talking to your fiance. I came to you, and then maybe some other leaders of some other organizations, some other fundraisers or special project individuals, that are just organized and detailed and kind of can cast that the needs, what skills you need to kind of do something like that.
I think that's a great first step, really kind of thinking through, are there any other obstacles that you feel like are keeping you from starting your business right now?
Probably to devote the time to start up, probably need to cut back on what I would be doing, with my current job. So kind of the scare of, am I ready to leave that? Do I want to leave it? Do I want to jump off? Or, because if you go too slow, you never get going. But if you don't make a big step, and then it's a risk, So
where are you right now with that?
I think I'd like to be at that point where I could stop that job maybe in a year, kind of lay the groundwork and be done. Have another big event in August next year and maybe see that one through. And then after that, really be ready to say, okay, we're financially able and in a good spot to say, resign from that position and move forward.
Absolutely.
So.
It sounds like you've really got your head around kind of maybe some things you need to do and even a time frame. Would you, want to commit to a next step of, contacting, making a list of who your support group would want to be?
Yeah, I think that'd be great.
And then, what else do you think you need? Are there any other?
Do you have, just any recommendations? If you were kind of in my shoes and you were looking at this, or do you have any experiences you've been through that would kind of?
That's a great question. Personally, I haven't started a business, but I'd love to throw it back at you. If someone were to ask you that same question, what advice would you give, or who would you ask?
And that's probably where it gets a little scary, because you'd probably tell them, well, go for it. If you have, like you mentioned, that support system, which I hadn't necessarily, thought about fully, who's really there to help you along the way, and if you fall and, all that good stuff. But to probably just kind of go for it, identify those next steps, which I think I hadn't thought through fully, and I think we're at a good spot there too.
Good. So if we were to, right now we've identified some barriers as far as, timing and just kind of determining the next step. Who do I need to talk to? Formulating a business plan. Of those options that we've just talked about, what do you think is your best next step?
I think for sure it's kind of getting that, I think it's a mixture of all, kind of getting that time frame, staying focused on not only the long-term goal, but the steps to get there. Probably a business plan, and maybe a budget of, what would it cost? What would be what would be the monthly loss of my salary? But then, kind of where could you make it up? I haven't probably thought through, we talk about that now. What do I charge? So probably trying to find somebody who's done something remotely similar.
Oh, absolutely.
To say, what is it good? What do I go for? You never know what your dollar amount is. I don't know, So kind of seeing that, and maybe finding that support, making sure that I've got a mentor in a role, that has done something similar.
Yeah. Do you have anybody in mind?
Maybe a couple. Probably a pastor I had at one point who now does more church consulting kind of things.
Yeah.
Of course, people that my background is political fundraising, and so maybe some of them that have kind of gone off on their own and started something similar. And I've probably got some friends at some other nonprofit organizations too that would be able to give some direction, some at smaller and some at large organizations like the one I'm currently at. I think those are probably some good starts.
No, I think that's great. And really, let's take time and really focus in on that one thing that you want to do within, maybe next week, and then I can follow up with you and just really keep it going. I think you've got a great opportunity that'll allow you to stay home, and but really thinking through and making sure you've got the support system and the things in place to help you get the foundation to take the next step.
Okay. I could probably give you 3 things.
Good. Yeah.
The first would be a serious conversation with the husband-to-be, kind of make sure I've got a good grasp on his perspective, because I hear you're not supposed to make decisions without them, at some point. And then there's an email to one of my contacts that I know would probably be willing to offer advice or mentor. And then probably my third one would be to go to my current mentor. I'm in a women's group through church, and I have a mentor, and so she could probably just kind of, gauge my personality, where I am spiritually and emotionally, and if I'm ready to take on something else and not overwhelm myself too much.
Awesome. Yeah.
So.
Has this conversation been beneficial to you in thinking through?
Yeah, it really has. I wasn't sure what I wanted out of it necessarily. I just kind of wanted to talk to somebody and see, just what do you do, when you've got a big idea, and how do you even think about the next steps. So thank you. It was good.
Thank you. As Jenna and I kind of talked about her starting a business, I think what began to unfold is just really seeing her mind come around with her next steps and kind of the support system she needed, and really kind of thinking through maybe some things that she hadn't thought through, but kind of asking about a business plan and who could she mentor, and what advice would she give. So those are some things that I thought were really helpful in the conversation.
As Kayla and I were talking, the whole concept and idea of what I was trying to do was kind of unfolding. When I first came to her, it was just kind of a small idea. This is maybe a possibility someday, somehow. And as we were talking, I really was not only being guided on just some good ideas of what to do next, which I really needed to hear, but it kind of helped me see that the plan was feasible, that the idea could really work someday. And she was able to help me see some very realistic, simple steps to, if nothing else, investigate the overall idea. And that was really helpful.